Hello and welcome again to another journey to a prophet's reward. Today's journey is a bit of an extended journey, and we are going to journey to a unique place, journey to hope again. Now, before we can hope again, and the reason we would need to hope again is because we've been in the place of hope deferred. So, let's look at our first map point. Our first map point is Proverbs 13, verse 12. And it says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. But when the desire comes, it is a tree of life. So, this verse is our first map point, and it really encompasses places of hope deferred and hope again. And that was Proverbs 13, verse 12. So it says, hope deferred, it causes sickness, but to have what is desired to be able to hope again is like a tree of life. We have two situations and two places on our map where we want to go and look at hope deferred. First of all, in the life of Jacob, who was also named Israel, and then we want to look in the life of King David. And we're going to look at two scenarios, two places of hope deferred, and then we're going to journey on to how their place of hope deferred leads them to the place of hope again. Are you in a place of hope deferred? Well, as we journey today, this is for you. This is for you. A compass to come to the place of hope again. Let's look at Jacob in his place of hope deferred. How did he get there? Well, we're going to start on our first map point and see how he got to the place of hope deferred. Now, Jacob had 12 sons. So this passage is all about the 12 sons, and in particularly it spotlights his son Joseph, whom was the most endeared to Jacob. And Jacob, as a boy, would have vivid dreams, but they were very prophetic dreams. They would reveal to him the plan of God for his life. So let's look in chapter 37. And I want to start at verse 10, where Joseph had just finished telling his father Jacob and brothers his dream. And it reads as follows, verse 10. So he told it to his father and his brothers, and his father rebuked him and said to him, what is this dream you have dreamed? Shall your mother and I and your brothers indeed come to bow down to the earth before you? And his brothers envied him. But his father kept the matter in mind. Then his brothers went to feed their father's flock in Shechem, and Israel said to Joseph, are not your brothers feeding the flock in Shechem? Come, I will send you to them. So he said to him, here I am. Then he said to him, please go and see. if it is well with your brothers and well with the flocks, and bring back word to me." So he sent him out of the valley of Hebron, and he went to Shechem. Now a certain man found him, and there he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, "What are you seeking?" So he said, "I am seeking my brothers. Please tell me where they are feeding their flocks." And the man said, "They have departed from here, and I heard them say, 'Let us go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them in Dothan. Now when they saw him afar off, even before he came near them, they conspired against him to kill him. Then they said to one another, "Look, this dreamer is coming. Come, therefore, let us now kill him and cast him into some pit. And we shall say, 'Some wild beast has devoured him.' We shall see what becomes of his dreams." But Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, "Let us not kill him." And Reuben said to them, "Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit which is in the wilderness, and do not lay a hand on him, that he might deliver him out of their hands and bring him back to his father." So it came to pass, when Joseph had come to his brothers, that they stripped Joseph of his tunic, the tunic of many colors that was on him. Then they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat a meal. Then they lifted their eyes and looked, and there was a company of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead with their camels, bearing spices, balm, and myrrh, on their way to carry them down to Egypt. So Judah said to his brothers, "What profit is there if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh." And his brothers listened to him. Then Midianite traders passed by, so the brothers pulled Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. And they took Joseph to Egypt. Then Reuben returned to the pit, and indeed Joseph was not in the pit, and he tore his clothes. And he returned to his brothers and said, "The lad is no more, and I, where shall I go?" So they took Joseph's tunic, killed a kid of the goats, and dipped the tunic in the blood. Then they sent the tunic of many colors, and they brought it to their father, and said, "We have found this. Do you know whether it is your son's tunic or not?" And he recognized it and said, "It is my son's tunic. A wild beast has devoured him without doubt. Joseph is torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes, put sackcloth on his waist, and mourned for his son many days. All his sons and all his daughters arose to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, "For I shall go down into the grave to my son in mourning." Thus his father wept for him. Now the Midianites had sold him in Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. and captain of the guard. Okay, so that map point is the hope deferred place of Jacob. Hope deferred over his lost son, Joseph, lost to him. Let's look at King David and see his journey to hope deferred. Let's go to 2 Samuel and look at chapter 6. This is where Joseph was now king, and he was wanting to prepare the city of David, and he wanted to bring the ark to the city of David, the ark of God. Beginning at the first verse of chapter 6 in 2 Samuel, it says, "Again, David gathered all the choice men of Israel, 30,000. And David arose and went with all the people who were with him from Baale Judah to bring up from there the ark of God, whose name is called by the name the Lord of hosts, who dwells between the cherubim." So they set the ark of God on a new cart and brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill. And Uzzah and Ahio, the sons of Abinadab, drove the new cart. And they brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill, accompanying the ark of God. And Ahio went before the ark. Then David and all the house of Israel played music before the Lord on all kinds of instruments of fir wood, on harps, on stringed instruments, on tambourines, on sistrums, and on cymbals. And when they came to Nachon's threshing floor, Uzzah put out his hand to the ark of God and took hold of it, for the oxen stumbled. Then the anger of the Lord was aroused against Uzzah, and God struck him there for this error. And he died there by the ark of God. And David became angry because of the Lord's outbreak against Uzzah. And he called the name of the place Perez Uzzah to this day. David was afraid of the Lord that day. And he said, "How can the ark of the Lord come to me?" So David would not move the ark of the Lord with him into the city of David, but David took it aside into the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. So this was the journey of David to hope deferred. Let's go back now to continue the journey with Jacob, and let's find out how he journeyed to hope deferred. Let's go to our next map point, which is Genesis chapter 45. And here we find that Joseph and his brothers are well in years. They are grown, they are adults. But Joseph is in Egypt, as we read at the end of chapter 37. He was in Egypt, and God had created all kinds of circumstances with Joseph to position him as governor of Egypt. So here we begin chapter 45 of Genesis at verse 13, where Joseph is now encountering his brothers and he revealed to them who he really was, because he was grown and they were grown and they've all changed, and he's in this status and position, and they do not recognize him, a person of this authority, until he reveals to them and lets them know, I am your brother that you sold. Okay, so let's start at verse 13. It says, and this is Joseph talking to his brothers, and he says, so you shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and of all that you have seen, and you shall hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. Moreover, he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. And after that, his brothers talked with him. Now, the report of it was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, Joseph's brothers have come. So it pleased Pharaoh and his servants well. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this. Load your animals and depart. Go to the land of Canaan. Bring your father and your households and come to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you will eat the fat of the land. Now you are commanded, do this. Take carts out of the land of Egypt for your little ones and your wives. Bring your father and come. Also, do not be concerned about your goods, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. Then the sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them carts according to the command of Pharaoh, and he gave them provisions for the journey. He gave to them all, to each man, changes of garments, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of garments. And he sent to his father these things: 10 donkeys loaded with the good things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and food for his father for the journey. So he sent his brothers away, and they departed. And he said to them, see that you do not become troubled along the way. Then they went out of Egypt and came to the land of Canaan to Jacob, their father. And they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart stood still because he did not believe them. But when they told him all the words which Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts which Joseph sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob, their father, revived. And Israel said, it is enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go and see him before I die. That is our map point that reveals Jacob's journey to hope again. Let's look at King David now. King David, hope again, is at the map point of 2 Samuel 6, starting at verse 11. It says, the ark of the Lord remained in the house of Obed Edom the Gittite 3 months. And the Lord blessed Obed Edom and all his household. Now it was told King David, saying, the Lord has blessed the house of Obed Edom and all that belongs to him because of the ark of God. So David went and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed Edom to the city of David with gladness. And so it was, when those bearing the ark of the Lord had gone 6 paces, that he sacrificed oxen and fatted sheep. Then David danced before the Lord with all his might, and David was wearing a linen ephod. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting and with the sound of the trumpet. And that is our map point of how David journeyed to hope again. Let's look at one last map point that really summarizes this whole journey from hope deferred to hope again. And it's in 1 Peter. 1 Peter, and it's in chapter 1, because Peter, we remember, he was a disciple who truly knew about hope deferred. But when Jesus came after him on that morning on the beach and said, feed my sheep, he knew what it meant to experience hope again. So here we have in Peter's first epistle, the first Peter, first chapter, and it's verse 3. And this is what he says. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who according to his abundant mercy has begotten us again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. Now, in summary of this journey, we notice that both Jacob and David had some kind of journey that really shook them because of a loss of life or because what appeared to be loss of life. And that brought hope deferred. That interrupted the plan. That interrupted relationships. That interrupted all kinds of hopes and dreams. So, hope deferred. Is that you? Do you have a situation where you've experienced a loss of a loved one? You've experienced hopes and dreams that have been shattered because of unexpected circumstances? Are you just disappointed and brokenhearted with the person or with the way things have turned out? Well, you have journeyed to the place of hope deferred. But God has the place of hope again for you. And it's time for you to get into the presence of God and ask God to lead you on a journey to hope again, where there is life, where there is resurrection of the things that seem dead and the things that require new vision, new hope. Let's go over our map points. And as you sit diligently with the Lord and study these situations of hope deferred and the journey to hope again, may it illuminate to you the desire in God's heart to bring life and hope back into your situation, back into your heart, back into your dreams. Here are our map points for today. I'll get that into view for you. Okay. So this is our journey to hope again. Our first map point was Proverbs 13, verse 12. Our second map point was Jacob's hope deferred in Genesis 37. And I had verses 12 through 36, but I read a little bit before that. Perhaps I think I started at verse 10. The next map point is from 2 Samuel, which was David's hope deferred. And that was from chapter 6, verses 1 through 10. Then we went on to find out about Jacob's journey to hope again in Genesis 45, verses 13 to 28. It says 16, but I read a little bit before that, starting at 13. And then we went on to the point where David journeyed to hope again in 2 Samuel 6, verses 11 through 15. And we summed it all up in 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 3, where he highlights the resurrection and the hope that the resurrection brings. It brings life. So, today's journey is for you. If you're in that place of hope deferred, today's journey is there to inspire you to journey with the Lord to hope again. And I pray that there is much treasure for you on this journey, that there is blessing and there is resurrection life to hope again. Until the next time, stay on the righteous path.